I was not a cool kid growing up. I was very uncool. My favorite activity as a kid was I loved to squirt a bunch of Elmer's glue onto my hands and then rub them together and then wait for them to dry and then peel it off. But I'm cool now. Don't do that anymore. I do cool stuff. I have sex. But I do make them come in my hand so I can rub them together. Wait for them to dry. Peel it off. I played Little League Baseball growing up, but when I started playing, I was just given all of my older brother's hand-me-down gear, so everything was just like way too big for me, especially the jockstrap. I didn't know I didn't have to wear everything. I showed up first day of practice wearing a cup. I don't know if you know this, sir, but girls don't need to wear cups. We've got built-in cups. Very protective down there. That's all a cup is. It's just a strap-on vagina. So I showed up to practice first day with double cuppage. Had my natural cup and the man-made cup. 2 cups, 1 girl, that was me out there. And one of the little boys on my team, he was like, "Why are you wearing a cup? You don't have a wiener." And I didn't know what a wiener was, but I was like so competitive that I was like, "Yeah, huh?" Got a wiener. I've got a bunch of wieners. Finally, like, one of the moms pulled me aside, and she was like, "Sweetie, you don't have a wiener." This was the 90s, so they were allowed to tell me that back then. If that happened today, I would have worn that cup all season long. Nobody would have said. I know what a wiener is now. But we didn't really talk about stuff like that growing up. I was raised very sheltered. I grew up evangelical Christian. So yeah, I was pretty like sexually naive. The only time I even heard about sex was every time one of our pastors had an affair. So only like 3 or 4 times. Not enough, but I was very curious. Like, I really wanted to look up penises on the internet. I wanted to Google them. I wanted to look at them. But at church, they made it very clear that I wasn't allowed to do that. You can't look up nude photos. God would not be cool with that. Which I always thought was kind of weird. Like, why does God care if I'm looking up penises? You know? Like, if God created man, wouldn't he want people to check out his portfolio? I feel like anytime an artist doesn't want to share their work is only if they're not super happy with it. So maybe that's what happened with the penis. Maybe God was going through an experimental phase or something. He was like, hey, I made this thing. Never mind, it sucks, don't look at that. It's a sin if you look at it, stop it. He even tried to fix it. He was like, what if we cut a little bit off the top? No, made it worse. Don't look at it. It's bad. I've seen some penises in real life. Pretty sure God went in there without a plan. Or he lost the recipe along the way. Just because, like, consistency-wise, they're all over the place. Like, if God was on the Great British Bake Off, he would have failed the technical challenge on Penis Week. Just some of them could have been in the oven a little bit longer. You know? One time, I hooked up with a guy with a micro penis. I say hooked up, but nothing was hooked. The weird part about it was that he didn't warn me beforehand. Like, I just had to discover it on my own. Yeah, I was like Christopher Columbus out there. Looking for one thing, found something completely different. I noticed a few guys aren't laughing at this joke, and that's okay. That's fine. I'm not trying to size shame. Personally, I don't think size matters. I kind of look at the size of your dick the same way I look at the size of your bank account. Like, no matter what you're working with, I'm going to completely drain it. So. Okay. That's just me, though. Yeah. All right, my whole set so far has been about penises. Just 8 minutes of dick jokes. And I'm not used to them lasting that long, so it's pretty impressive. I have other types of jokes, too. Not gonna do them, but... I was talking to a comedian friend of mine recently, and he looked at me and he said, hey, why don't you have any jokes about your lazy eye? And that's how I found out that I have a lazy eye. I was like, I don't have a lazy eye. He was like, oh. Okay. But it scared me. I made an appointment with an eye doctor. And I went to a new doctor. Had never been to her before. And I walked in and she was very young. The youngest doctor I've ever seen, like Gen Z, I'm pretty sure. And I get a little nervous around the Z's. Just because I feel like they're judging me for doing something wrong. And I just want everybody to like me. But I walked in and I just rolled out of bed. I was like looking really grubby and I was like in my head about it. So I was like, hey, nice to meet you. Sorry about how I look. I swear I'm not homeless. And this is why I think she was Gen Z, because she said, "Oh, no worries, you don't look unhoused." I was like, oh man, I blew it already. She's judging me. Said the wrong word. But then she was like, so what brings you in today? And I was like, oh, well, I think that like maybe one of my eyes is unhardworking. Thank you so much. Have a great night.